Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gritty Hour. I have a special guest today, John Gusty. John is, after 30 years in the entertainment industry, working behind the curtain for some of music's biggest names. John turned his attention to health and wellness in an effort to help his wife heal from what was originally diagnosed as multiple sclerosis. He soon realized that the same deceit and profit motive that plagued the entertainment media was even worse inside the medical industrial complex. As a devout agorist and champion of individuality, he now devotes his time to producing content that celebrates the spirit of sovereignty in all aspects of life. Very interesting. Welcome to the Gritty Hour, John.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's a
Appreciate it.
it's a pleasure to have you. So, the book that you see, I think a snippet of it is behind my head here. Why should we take the red pill? I got to ask you what does what is the meaning of red pill?
Well, it's if a lot of people might recognize it. It's a reference to a very key scene in the movie The Matrix, and where the main character is given a choice. He's given a choice to take one of two pills, and the red pill. If he takes the red pill, he knows the truth. The truth is revealed to him, and there's no going back. That's the caveat. Or he can take the blue pill and just remain. Things are just as they are. No, he'll just go on about his life, kind of naive and numb. I do want to point out there is, it just happens to be red and blue. There is absolutely no correlation between the red and blue sides of the statist church, Republicans and Democrats. That's not what those colors coordinate. It just happened to be the colors that they used in the movie.
I'm not going to lie, that's what I did think it was.
Yeah,
But that's all right.
Not bad at all.
Give us a little bit of a synopsis of the story behind how you got involved in this. Before I even get to that, I just wanted to point out you're involved in a book called The Red Pill Revolution, correct?
Correct.
Were you one of the authors?
Yeah, one of there's five of us that
Uh-huh.
contributed to the book. The other four gentlemen are my four co-authors are all in the UK. I am the only American in the group, but it gave it a really unique perspective. We actually started putting that book together fourth quarter of 2019. I
Mm-hmm.
think we all know what happened next.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
but oddly enough, the purpose of that book, you mentioned in my intro in the bio, my wife of 20 plus years now, she was originally diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and hasn't taken a step on her own in over 15 years. She's been
Mm-hmm.
confined to an electric scooter. And I've been a relatively healthy person my entire life. I didn't spend any time interfacing with the medical industrial complex at all.
Right.
When she and I got together, as any good spouse would do, her problems became my problems and vice versa. And I just wanted to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And having zero previous experience with the medical industrial complex, I think like a lot of people assumed that there was some entity or entities that are sitting there, and there's a file on you, and they're going over your file, and they're looking out for your best interest, and that obviously is not the case at all. You really have to be your own general contractor. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of appointed myself her general contractor and started doing what I do in anything else. I'm kind of a digger. You put me on a topic or a task, and I'm going to dig. I want to find out. I want to peel back the layers of the onion and see why things are the way they are and how things work. And I started doing that with her health and wellness journey, and realized, like it said in my bio, I'm used to ego and manipulation and deceit and fun and games. That's what the entertainment industry is. I just didn't, for the life of me, I had no idea that those exact same attributes were just rampant in the medical industrial complex. And this is before the events of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Far before. And so we, of those, my four co-authors, one of them, Dr. Jeremy Ayers, happens to be my wife's main doctor, and we, the two of us, became pretty close over the years. He took a genuine interest in getting my wife better. As a result, he and I got very, very close. And he's just one of those. I'm a big fan of the art of conversation. I think the
Hmm.
art of conversation is fast becoming a lost art. It's up to people like you and me to keep the conversation on any and all topics going. It's totally okay for us to discuss anything. I think we can tackle as two grown adults. I think we can tackle just about any subject without either of us getting our panties in a wad
Hmm.
about anything. And we can, so Jeremy and I, just there's literally no rabbit hole we didn't go down and discuss. And it's, those kind of friends are rare. The type of, the type of person that you can just literally have any kind of conversation with. And it's all kind of that, if you think back to when we were all kids, that real, raw, pure, just sense of wonderment, just wanting to know about things,
Hmm.
not no agendas, no political or religious agendas, just curiosity. And we thought it would be a really interesting idea to put together a book that acted as a guidebook, because we again, this is fourth quarter 2019, so none of the 2020 stuff had happened yet. But we even prior to 2020 noticed there was a lot of people that were starting to take notice that, hey, maybe things aren't exactly as we've been told, and pick the vertical, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's technology, whether
I
it's
think by
history.
now it's a
Yeah.
majority of people now. Yeah.
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 And so we wanted to put a guidebook together, if you would, for people like ourselves with that wonderful sense of wonder,
Hmm.
because not everybody has their aha awakening moment at the same place, the same time, or along the same path. Some people wake up in the world of nutrition and go, oh my gosh, sugar's actually bad for me. Other people do it with religion, other people do it with politics. So we just wanted to put together a handbook, a guide, if you will, for people like ourselves who were taking that journey and realizing things and understanding that things just aren't as we have been told in any number of verticals. And lo and behold, right when we started writing it was right when Event 201 was happening. I think Event 201 is still on YouTube. For those of you that aren't aware of what Event 201 is, it was when the string pullers, the influencers, the World Economic Forum people, all of the the movers and shakers on a world scale got together and ran a little drill about something called a coronavirus that was going to be
Hmm.
released. And lo and behold, 4 months later, it actually happened, almost on cue, as they worked out in their little drill. And so it was a great time to start putting a book together. It was like we were writing this book while watching a real life experiment
Yeah.
happen. And
Yeah.
it was actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because it gave us a really interesting live, just as it's happening, perspective on some of the things that we were already going to talk and write about.
Without getting too personal, but I do want to drill down a little bit
Yeah.
into your wife's diagnosis of
Mhm.
multiple sclerosis. Did you doubt the multiple sclerosis diagnosis?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
In
and
fact,
and
yeah. In fact,
Doctor Ayers agreed with you, or just tell me how
um,
that occurred.
we could probably do, we won't, but we probably could do an entire 3 4 5 hour show just on the topic of diagnosis.
Hmm.
And just the fact that, I don't know, let me use an analogy. If you take your car to a mechanic and a mechanic tells you that there is something wrong with your car, you can usually ask the mechanic to show you what the problem is, and you can see it with your own eyes. And um, I think all of us have encountered our fair share of good and bad mechanics, and it's not unusual for someone to call out a mechanic that they don't trust and go, "Yeah, I don't know that you're really giving me an accurate diagnosis. I think I'll go get a second opinion." Unfortunately, that type of behavior doesn't happen as often as it should with the people that wear white coats
Yeah,
with letters after their name.
right.
And for some reason, we've just all been born into the pop culture meme that these medical establishment figureheads are somehow smarter or more informed than us lowly normies walking around out there. And I don't know, man. I think that tide has changed. I mean, I can't tell you. I don't mean this to sound arrogant. I'm just being honest. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in the same room with a medical professional, and I have known more about the particular topic at hand than they do. And it's not even my profession. It's not my burden to know that type of material. But again, I am a digger, and I just don't. I think most people who are diggers and researchers, they, you want to check your sources, and you look for patterns, and and I don't believe anything unless I've got 5, 6, maybe 7 different correlating pieces of evidence that show me that, yeah, okay, I think I can trust this particular diagnosis. But no, in general, I think there is a massive issue with people, medical professionals, telling people that they have things, they have conditions, they have I hate the word disease, but they have diseases that they may not necessarily have at all. Let me give you another example. If I was let's just say you were sitting in your house one night and you noticed that one of your walls in your living room was starting to be cave in, crack, be compromised a little bit. So you call a professional, and you call, I show up. I'm the architectural professional, and I give you my diagnosis, and I tell you that you have wall compromise-itis. I come up with some name for this condition of your wall, and you blindly go, oh my gosh, well, he's got a white coat and letters after his name. He must know what he's talking about. And I give you a scan. I show you this X-ray looking thing, and I show you a big white spot in there. I was like, look, see, this is where your wall disease is, and I'm going to need to pump a bunch of chemicals and stuff in there to we might even have to burn your entire wall down, and put in a new wall. Those type of things. When in reality, what you actually had was termites, and those termites could be treated very effectively a number of different ways that would not involve burning down your wall or pumping chemicals into your wall. I mean, at the very least, I could, someone trained in such things could remove the termites and move them to another spot if they so desired to do such. But so I think the topic of diagnosis is a BS topic to begin with. I think a lot of people have been told that they have things that they don't actually have. I think there are more reasonable and actionable explanations for things that people have been told are wrong with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you were just saying reminded me of something I heard recently. The pharmaceutical industry sees no profit in cures; they only see profit in treatments.
Yeah. Oh my! I mean, once you, I understand there's going to be people out there that go, but you have to make money. But like, if you and I, let's just say you and I started a business tomorrow, and what we were going to do is we were going to sell lemonade, right? Now, you and I, if our goal was to make the best lemonade possible and serve it with the best service and the best customer experience possible, I would say that should be our goal. If that was our project that we set out to do together, serving the best product and giving the best service should be the goal. And certainly we need to make a profit in order to carry on doing so. However, at some point, if our encouragement for doing what we do shifted to just make as much money as possible, I would say that the without question, the quality of our lemonade is going to suffer. Our service level is going to suffer, because we are going to start thinking about how can we sell the most amount of product at the least amount of cost to the most people to gain the most profit. And that our game has shifted. We started out wanting to make the best lemonade and with the best service, and somewhere along the way we shifted it to profit mode. So whenever anything shifts into profit motive being the main driver of why any entity does what it does, you're not going to get the best goods. You're not going to get the best service. The end product is absolutely going to suffer each and every time. I've never seen an example of where that hasn't been the case.
Do you think there's a discernible point in time when the medical industry made that shift?
I think it started out that way. I think there is a wonderful documentary called Rockefeller Medicine by a gentleman named James Corbett. It can be found at thecorbettreport.com. I would highly encourage everyone. It's probably the best 50 minutes you could probably spend. And it goes into the history of when John D. Rockefeller came in from, prior to his presence, all we had was a homeopathic natural system, or practice, if you will. It was the Rockefeller influence that dominated and got and infiltrated all of the universities. So now you've got this, what we have today is you have to go to their schools to get their certification to work in their facilities in their vertical, and they call all of that medical. I mean, even to the point where, like, you've heard of people in the past being, actually prosecuted for having the gall to practice medicine without a license. And I mean, health and wellness, just if I think if everyone stepped back a few steps, health and wellness, it's all of our primary responsibility. It's the biggest responsibility. It's the most intimate responsibility we've all been given. It's my job to take care of me and what I have been born with, and it's in my best interest to take care of me.
Sure.
And so too many people shove that responsibility off to a commercial third party. I think if you ask a lot of people in this country what healthcare is, very few people are going to go, well, it's my refrigerator, it's my garden, it's my, it's the water that I drink, it's the sun that I expose myself to, it's the ground that I take. A lot of people think healthcare is actual access to government goods and services, and all of which are there for profit and not for the betterment of the end user. And so, yeah, I think prior to John D. Rockefeller coming in, the world had a reasonable, I wouldn't call it a healthcare system, but I mean, do we have a do we even need a healthcare system? I don't think we do. I think we need knowledge on how to live the best healthy life that humans can live. And I think that knowledge and that information transcends needing a system to distribute it.
Right. Well, I think most people watching, or some people watching or listening to us, would play the devil's advocate and ask, well, how do you explain the extension of lifespans over the last, say, 50, 60 years?
Have they? Have lifespans really? Because if we are to believe historical text, people used to live a lot longer. I mean, we've got historical texts, and not just biblical text. I mean, text that way predates anything that the Roman powers that be put together and assembled into what we call the Bible today. But there's lots of ancient texts that point to the fact that people lived much longer than they're living today. So I would argue that if anything, our lifespans have gotten shorter. I think a microcosm of that is I don't know if you're an animal lover or not. I happen to be a dog guy, and I have never, my wife and we have never had an animal, dog or cat, that has not gone 20 years or more. And one of the reasons why is we do not pump our animals full of man-made toxins. Our dogs, our cats get no shots. They eat meat, they drink clean water, and they have access to the outdoors whenever they want it. And it's funny that when you give an animal those things, those very simple things that it, mind you, would already have if it was living outside doing its own thing, they tend to live twice what your average domestic animal lives. I mean, I think a lot of people expect to get 10, maybe 12, 13 years out of a dog or a cat. And it's like,
Right. That
you
seems
can
to be,
easily get twice that if you just take all of the artificial toxins out of the equation and just feed them real food. Don't pump them up full of chemicals, and give them good water. Let them get outside, and you're going to get twice the lifespan out of that animal that you otherwise would.
Interesting. How do you feel about fluoride in the water system?
Hydrofluoric silicic acid. Yes.
It's good for your teeth,
Byproduct.
supposedly.
It's funny. You could look up. I think even to this day, you can look up fluoride on the bastion of all truth and knowledge, Wikipedia, and it'll tell you that it is toxic and corrosive. And I can't imagine why. Let's see. It's a byproduct of the aluminum industry. That the aluminum industry got in trouble back in the mid 40s for dumping into groundwater and getting a lot of people sick and dead. So they had to partner up with another industry that could use that. What about the dental industry? We could put it in the water. Who would benefit from corrosive crap being in everyone's drinking water? I bet you the dental industry would certainly benefit from that. And that's what we have to this day. So yeah. I actually went to I live in a little town west of Nashville. And years ago, I fancied myself. I've always kind of fancied myself as this individualist, middle finger skateboard, punk rock loving kid, and doing things for myself and trying to be as sovereign as I possibly can. And it hit me years and years ago. It's like, man, I can't even get a glass of water. I can't get myself water without some third-party commercial entity. And so I went to my water district. I think every county in the US has got one water entity in their water district that takes the hit for the whole county. And sometimes all of the water districts within a county will put that hydrofluoric silicic acid in. But in my case, it was the county, it was the district that I was dealing with. I asked them why they were doing it. They did not know. I was the first person to show up for a water board meeting in years. So I and three other older gentlemen had some wonderful conversation. They didn't know why they were doing it. They just always had. Found out it wasn't mandated by the state. So I asked them, I said, hey, look, as your customer, could you not put that in there, please? I would like you to not have that in the product that I'm buying from you. And you don't, and I said, you clearly don't know why you're doing it. And you also aren't being forced to do it. So I know, let's take a vote. Let's not do it. And the next meeting, a month later, the room was filled with no less than 30 people, all from the state. There were several lawyers or people from the dental industry that were there.
Oh, really? Wow.
All because one of the guys, and one of the guys on my water board, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He just called the state and said, hey, I got this guy. He brought up a lot of good points. I think we're going to stop doing this, and the state just descended on my little water district.
Wow.
And long story short, they were not allowed to stop doing it. So I just said, I recorded everything. I've got it all on audio. I actually have the state of Tennessee. I don't know if all states have this, but the state of Tennessee has a Department of Oral Health. Now, why would the state have a Department of Oral Health? I comically asked, is there a Department of Nasal Health? Is there a Department of Anal Health? Is there a Department of Vaginal Health? I mean, how many orifices have their own departments? And, interestingly enough, only the Department of Oral Health existed. They couldn't explain why we needed a Department of Oral Health at the state level, but nonetheless, I think we know why. It's to administer programs like this. Like the hydrofluoric silicic acid being in there. So I actually had them, I have them recorded stating emphatically that the reason that it is in there is for medical reasons. And that's why they had all the dental lobbyists and stuff there at the meeting. And I kind of wanted them to say that, because after I knew that they had said it, I had it recorded and everything. I said, so basically you're medically dosing people without their consent, which is big time. No, you can't, you can't do that. Dunkin' Donuts couldn't put ibuprofen in their donut and not tell you about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now they could make an ibuprofen donut and you could have the right to buy it or not buy it. But if they're putting it in there and not telling you about it, that's dosing you without your consent. So my parting shot to them was, you're medically dosing people without their consent, and maybe this will end up in a court of law someday. Thank you very much. I'm actually canceling my subscription to these services, and I just went and dug a well, and now I have my own. I've had my own water for probably 10 plus years now. But it was all like I said, it was crazy, because I really thought I was living a good individual self-sufficient life, but we're the only species that I'm aware of that puts a paywall between themselves and water. Every other species of life form that I'm aware of knows how to get their own water. No paywall needed, but somehow it falls from the sky and springs from the ground, but we've set it up so that we have to pay for it. Which I think is interesting, being that we are mostly water beings, depending upon who you want to argue with. We're 70 to 80% water. So why would we literally have a paywall between us and the most essential element to our life?
Right. Interesting take. Have you ever read any reports that try and prove that it does improve oral health?
No, I've actually got a pretty good collection of books and reports that date back to the mid 40s on this very subject. And I don't believe that there is any, and I was looking for it too, because I really want, like, when I have conversations like this about topics like this, I want to be correct. I don't want to just be spouting off stuff just because it's stuff that I think. Like, I want to be challenged on this. And so I was hoping to find something that would at least prop up their side of the argument. But now there's absolutely, again, you can literally go on Wikipedia right now and it'll tell you that fluoride is toxic and corrosive. And if it's toxic and corrosive, then why in the world are we putting it into, I mean, think of the membranes and the flesh and the glands and stuff that it is coming into contact with as we swallow it. Even if you look at products that have fluoride in them, like the wash, the mouthwashes and the stuff, and it'll tell you, it'll tell you do not swallow it. Yet they're putting water in, they're putting it in water, which they know is being swallowed, and people are bathing in it, and they're cooking their food in it, and I mean, it's swimming in it. I mean, it's nasty business, but you don't have, we don't have to purchase that product from them, and I just stopped purchasing it from them.
Yeah. In your book, John, you mentioned the word state. If I say it wrong, statism?
Yes.
Or statism, maybe.
Statism.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Statism. I think I'm accurate in saying it is probably the most prevalent religion on earth. It is the belief in the higher power of the state. In the case of here in the U.S., it's the belief in the District of Columbia. It's the belief that there are people out there who believe that they have magic words that they can write on their magic pieces of paper, and they put it down on their magic pieces of paper, and that somehow gives them superpowers to tell the rest of us what we can and can't do, where we can go, what plants we can use, what foods we can have, whether we can collect rainwater or not. And so religion is simply the belief in a higher power. It's a belief system based around the belief in a higher power, higher authority. And statism is just that exact same dynamic. It's just belief in the state. Some people will call it corporatism because obviously we don't have an actual government. We haven't had an actual government since, I think, arguably the mid 30s, but certainly since then we have corporate entities, commercial entities, the state. I live in Tennessee. The state of Tennessee has doesn't have any, and this is true for all states. It's actually true on the federal level. All with very few exceptions. There are still some towns cities and towns that are unincorporated, but pretty much everything has been incorporated. And when you incorporate, you turn something into a commercial entity. And all governorships have been abandoned. All seats of all actual original jurisdiction government on every level, the county, state, federal level, have all been abandoned since it started in the 30s. I think it took till the 70s till they got all of the states and the counties incorporated. But yeah, it's just belief in that corporate state. And
So what do you think that leads to? If they were all abandoned, then what do we have?
we've got companies. There is no actual government for the state of Tennessee. There is the state of Tennessee Incorporated, which was an entity that was created, and it is privately owned. You can't buy stock in the state of Tennessee or any other state, so it's clearly privately owned. If it was a publicly traded company, we'd be able to buy stock in it, but you can't buy stock in it. And so we've got these, we've pretty much what we call government is corporate fiction, and anything commercial is fictional because it only exists on paper. It does not exist in real life. You need the magic paper with the magic words on it to make it to make it even close to a reality. And so statism is just the belief in those people who believe that they have the magic words to put on the magic paper to tell everyone else what to do. And a lot of times those individuals go as far as to believe that they come from these sacred bloodlines that they're born into being able to tell other people and rule over other people. And it's not just the U.S. I mean, look at The Crown. It blew me away when Queen Elizabeth on. If she or it actually did pass on, whatever. But in this day and age where people are getting canceled right and left for saying the wrong thing or thinking the wrong thing or wearing the wrong thing or whatever, how in the world did The Crown get a free pass? You've literally got self-admitted, inbred German. They're not even British. I mean, they used to be the House of Saxe-Gotha until I think it was 1917, when the Hitler narrative that they created wasn't going so well, and people weren't digging the whole German thing. So then they changed their names to the House of Windsor, and they literally claim to have a sacred bloodline that gives them the right to rule over everyone else, to the point where they call everyone else their subjects. And somehow that gets a pass. There are still those among us who look at what's called the royal family and think that, oh, it's beautiful, it's a wonderful thing. It's like, man, here's a simple question. Do you think, as a human being, do you think that human beings have the right to walk up to another human being and just declare non-consensual authority over them?
No.
Of course not. I mean, that's slavery.
As an American, I don't. Anyway, I don't know if it's worldwide, but I think King Chuck probably thinks he does, though. So. Yeah. Well, it's a figurehead now. It's a parliamentary government there anyway, so I don't know why they propped that royal family up to begin with. I am an American, but I'm an Irish American, so I always have a slant on my view of that. So,
yeah.
But you're right. You're right, of course. And but I wanted to talk about this book more, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
and before just give me a second. I wanted to share the Amazon page for the book, so people who are watching us on YouTube or Rumble can see the book itself.
In the meantime, I'll do my shameless prop.
Well, there you go. That's the book. So it's called The Red Pill Revolution. What I have in front of me is the paperback version on Amazon. So give us a little bit more about the book itself. Because obviously it touches more on just the healthcare industry, or what did you call it? The
medical industrial complex?
Yes.
it really is kind of a general walk through the infrastructure of life as we know it, and talks about things like the Crown, like the District of Columbia, like the medical industrial complex, like some of these quote unquote institutions that we've just been born to believe have the right to do what they do. And it really tries to, the book just tries to take a good general look at the playing field of modern day life and ask, how did we get to this point, and more importantly, what can we do about it? And a lot of reoccurring themes keep popping up in the book. The topic of consent is a huge topic. That keeps coming up. Deceit and manipulation, which is basically just marketing. I mean, that's all marketing is just, manipulating, someone to get to go here, or click here, or buy this,
Right.
or drink this, or whatever. So it's really trying to take a very simple, very general look at the playing field of life as it currently is, and get people to think about it in more the way that I've been talking about it, where it's just, just kind of everyday approaches to these topics. Whereas, you don't normally, I get people all the time telling me that, like, a lot of people don't talk about these things the way that we talk about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And we take a very simple, reasonable, dare I say, consensual approach to these things, and just ask questions. And I think asking questions and putting up scenarios and analogies gets people thinking. And a really good example I love to cite in situations like this was it was not that long ago, when the country was losing its mind over the topic of marriage, right? And you had people just going at each other's throats over the topic of marriage. And I kind of saw, not just me, but the other authors, we kind of saw it like this, and this is just an example of maybe explaining it a little differently that allows people to think of it a little differently. Is you had we get told all the time that there's two sides. There's the right side and the left side, or the blue side and the red side, or the Republicans and the Democrats. I would say, back to the religion thing, they might be two groups, but they're one religion. They're still part of the statist religion. And so you take something like marriage. How absurd is it? You had these supposed two sides going, one side was going, we've got this privilege and you can't have it. And you have the other side going, but we want this privilege and we're going to get it. And that privilege that they're fighting over is getting a third-party commercial entity, a company, to certify your personal human relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, dude, if that's not bizarre, like when you think of it that way, my wife and I have been married over 20 years, and we had a wonderful wedding back in the day. But somebody that wasn't invited to our wedding was the state of Tennessee. The state of Tennessee was nowhere to be found in our wedding. We are married because we say we are. We have a covenant between the two of us. Covenants are only held up by the two people that make them. And you don't need a third party. In fact, it's ridiculous. If you and I say that we're friends, and our friendship will live or die based on what you and I put into it. And we don't need a piece of paper from Dunkin' Donuts or Walmart or the state of whatever to tell us that we're friends. We're friends because we say we are. Mm-hmm. And to certify a human relationship is a little odd. And right. when you explain it that way, it more often than not, I got people thinking, yeah, it's not even about gay marriage or not. It's about marriage, period. Why do you need a company to tell you that you love the person that you love? You don't need what you need is you need to love that person, and that person needs to love you back. And that's what that relationship will live and die on, not a piece of paper that can be negated or bought out.
Right.
How good is that piece of paper if you can just negate it with, $500 and a lawyer,
Right.
whatever.
Well, obviously, I'm looking at the reviews now, so it's been well received over the last couple of years. A lot of people love the book, and but let me ask you, yourself, or maybe the group, all four of the authors, do you consider yourselves sovereign citizens? Do you take that approach to things, or?
No, because the term sovereign and citizen can't exist in the same phrase, because citizen is a commercial term.
Mm,
So you couldn't you could no more be a sovereign citizen than you could have a dry glass of water.
mhm.
I mean, it's you can be sovereign or you can be a citizen, but you can't be a sovereign citizen, because those two terms don't even go together. Which is why you watch people try to pull that crap with cops, and the second somebody uses the term sovereign citizen, the cops know that you don't know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
it'd be like walking into a gun store and go, "Where are your assault rifles?" It's like the person behind the gun shop owner is going to go, "This guy doesn't have any idea what he's talking about," because of course, assault rifle isn't a thing. It's a term made up by the corporate news media to get
Right.
people worked up. But yes, so I think we consider ourselves human beings, period.
Hmm.
Just human beings. And at best, we want to be able to enter into deals and agreements and contracts consensually, not forced into them.
Right.
It all comes down to consent. It's like when I go into a Walmart, I'm walking into their jurisdiction, so I have to play by their rules. But when I walk out of the Walmart, I'm no longer in their jurisdiction anymore. And if I was driving home and I saw a Walmart car pull up behind me and turn on some red and blue lights and try to pull me over, it'd be ridiculous, because it'd be like, buddy, I'm not even in Walmart anymore. Go away. But
Mm.
that's exactly what happens every time a police officer pulls you over. You know,
Yeah.
is you have this officer from a privately owned company, and I'm talking police officers, not sheriffs. There's obviously a big difference between police and sheriffs, but police officers, are policy enforcement officers for the company that they work for. And if you are not, if you don't have a relationship or an agreement with that company, then those officers don't have any jurisdiction or authority over you either.
It's a good point. So would common law be the law that is abided by?
Yeah, I mean, I think common law is really the only law that there is, because we don't even what we call law, and this is kind of another one of those conversations where I hope, like, it makes at least one or two other people start thinking about this. Like, there's no law there's no speed limit law. There's no law that says you can't have cannabis. There's no law that says there what there are codes and there are statutes. And if you ask someone to see the speed limit law in your state, they're gonna cite something, and it's probably going to start with those three letters, UCC, and then a bunch of numbers and dashes and stuff. No, that stands for Uniform Commercial Code.
Mhm.
So code is not law. Code is code, and it's only commercial. Law is law, and I'm not familiar with. There is maritime law, which is of course the law of the sea, which is why our courtrooms curiously look like ships. I'm sure there's no shenanigans going on there. But there's the law is law, code is code, and code is commercial, law is non-commercial.
Well, the demand seems to have temporarily exceeded supply on this book for now, but I think you can still get the Kindle version, correct?
Oh no, you can order the yeah, you can order the print version all day long.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The print. Oh, well, okay. 'Cause it says temporarily out of stock. I don't know if that's just Amazon itself or maybe.
Shouldn't be, because it's actually print on demand, so it shouldn't be. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
I don't know
It
why
just
it's.
I just reading where it says
Yeah.
temporarily out of stock. So
I don't know why. I don't know why it would be doing that, but
as an author, that's a good thing, John.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sold out.
Yeah, yeah. But you can still get it on Kindle, and I do
Yeah,
see two used books are available and one new. So
yeah.
you can still get it from Amazon, and I'm sure Barnes and Noble and etc.
Oh yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where all books are sold.
We're all books. You did mention in the book a couple of times corporate manipulation. I think you
Mhm.
touched on it a little bit, but maybe you can elaborate.
Well, you know, corporations are fictional commercial entities, and they only have one thing. A corporation only has one purpose, and that is to be self-perpetuating, to be profitable. So a corporation, doesn't have any other goal other than to live another day, and it can only live another day if it's profitable. Excuse me. And people will go, yeah, but there's human beings behind those actions. Well, tell me one board of directors in any corporation that where there's anything more important than remaining profitable. I mean, it's literally the bottom line of any corporation. And so we talked earlier, when profit motive is the goal, um, you're not going to get the best goods or services that you would otherwise get if profit motive wasn't the goal. And I mean, if we were living our if my marriage was based around profit motive, I don't know that I would be the husband that I am.
Hmm.
What I'm saying, because my marriage is not based in profit. It's based in the love that I have for my wife. And so I do what I have to do, to love my wife in the most appropriate way possible, and that doesn't have anything to do with profit. So I think anytime you're dealing with a commercial entity, it's just wise to know that commercial entity um, only has one thing in mind, and that is to turn a profit. And
Hmm.
that's not to say that there aren't good, well run or well intended corporate entities out there. There are many of them, but you have to deal with the human. I mean, how many times have we all gotten I mean, is there anything more painful than getting on the phone with a phone company or a credit card company, or when you get in those automated loops, and all you're doing is just praying for a human being to pick up the other end so you can actually talk.
I've
And you,
experienced that this very
yeah,
day, John.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And every once in a while you get a good human being who will do the human thing and help you out. But you're dealing with that human. You're not dealing with that corporation. That corporation is, like I said, it's a piece of paper filed away in a cabinet somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So would it be wrong to characterize this book as a self-help book?
I think it's very, yeah, very, very much so. And I wouldn't be wrong. It would be very, very accurate.
Hmm.
Because honestly, the whole point of the book was to help people like ourselves that were going through this same journey of just eyes opening up, and learning about the world around us in ways that we were not originally told that it was. And so, yeah, and you know when you understand something, it uh, a lot of times it takes the emotion out of it. I think a lot of emotional, especially a lot of negative emotion, just comes from not understanding or fear. And when I don't expect. Okay, I'll just give you a really easy example. We are about to start a whole new season of America's Next Top President, and like, I don't care. because I'm not part of that religion. I don't care. I've never gotten, I'm 58 years old. I've never gone to my mailbox. I've never got my Reagan Prize, never got either of my Bush prizes, didn't get my Obama, my Clinton. None of those characters have ever affected my life in any way at all. The people who the people who have affected my life are the people in my life. Those characters on TV, and I would table the possibility that whoever's playing the part of it's currently it's Brandon. You know, is Brandon any different than Darth Vader? I mean, they're both on a screen. They're never gonna come to your house. You're not gonna run into them at the store. They're not gonna loan you any money if you need it. You know what I mean? So these are media characters.
Can I pull out of your opinion of RFK, given what we spoke about, RFK Jr.?
I think it's just another character on that stage.
Okay.
I mean, it's there is a group of people. I honestly think that there's really only two types of people. There's the control group. There's people who like to be controlled. I mean, a lot of people find comfort in being told what to do and how to do it and what they can and can't do. There's people who find comfort in being controlled, and there's more than enough people who want to control people. And so that control group gets along just fine, because there's people that want to be controlled, and there's no shortage of people that want to control them. And then there's everybody else. And then there's the other group of and I would definitely be in the other group of, I don't want to be controlled. I'm not saying that I'm not. My wife controls me like no other human on earth controls me, but I consent to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean? I want to be, and I don't want to give the impression that I have an abusive wife. When I say control, it's like if my wife tells me to do something and she's passionate about it, I'm going to take into consideration that it means something to her, and that I'm probably going to do that thing because it's she's passionate about it. But I consent to that. I don't. I don't think RFK Jr. or any of those characters, any of the Congress critters at all. They're part of that control group. They honestly believe that if given the opportunity, they will have the ability, the magic superpower to make declarations and tell the rest of the world what to do and how to do it. And that's just, it's a bit twisted if you really step back and think about it, because, brother man, I want you to be the best you can be. And if I can help, if I can contribute to that, if being friends helps, or if being a good neighbor helps, then I'm all in. But man, there's never going to be a day that I wake up and I have any piece of desire to want to control you. I don't even want to control. I don't even want to be. I don't want to control my wife. I don't want to control my kids. I'd like to be in control of my situation. But man, I've got two boys, 18 and 26, and I don't control them. I am their father. I'm a figure, of I guess authority. I don't really even like that, but I am their father. But I don't control them. I love them and I care about them, and we have a relationship, but I don't control them. I don't. And I think we all know parents who do control their kids, and what happens to the kids? The kids push away at some point, and I don't want my kids to ever push away from me. I love my kids, and so I don't want. Nobody wants to be. Very few people want to be controlled.
Right.
I mean, there are again, I previously mentioned there are some people who find comfort in it, but I think there's a lot more people that don't want to be controlled, which is why back to the whole this coming season of America's Next Top President. There will be maybe 10-15% of the actual people who could participate in those shenanigans that actually will. I mean, we're given this impression that the country's divided. The country's not divided. Most people don't care. Most people don't care about any of that stuff. If you look at the number of human beings that are in this country and how many of them are supposedly of age versus how many people actually vote, I mean, it's a small percentage. And so
Right.
we're given this impression that there's a lot more people playing this game than there actually are. And I think this next season will be interesting, because I think it'll have the lowest participation rate ever.
Mm.
And they're really going to have to come up with some compelling storylines to get people to even care. I think one of the characters will probably run from jail, because that's too good to not write into the script. So you got to write that into the script. And I think who knows what will happen on the other side. I mean,
Mm.
someone's probably going to get killed off, and they'll have to bring in some new savior from upon high to come save the day.
I
But
could see that happening too. Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, I mean, it's a great drama for those that like television. But I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time in front of the screen.
Right. I hear you. Do you, John, or any of your three co-authors have a sequel in mind, or you want to?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, the red pill book series is going to continue. We're probably going to, over the course of the next several years, we're probably going to drop a red pill book that deals with. I think the next one up is absolutely going. It's going to deal with specifically with the medical industrial complex. What has happened, and what we can do moving forward to take, I guess the responsibility of our own health and wellness, put it back in each individual's lap, and get as many people out of the mindset that our health and wellness is someone else's responsibility, some other commercial entity's responsibility, and it's
Gotcha.
and it's not. So we'll definitely do that. Definitely want to do a red pill book on the difference between legal and lawful. We were talking about that earlier. Definitely want to do one on education. I think education is a huge topic.
That I'd be most interested in. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because education is when somebody says that they're, if you I'm a big stickler for words and definitions, and I love old dictionaries, because you can see what the words used to mean before they changed them.
Mm.
And education, when you are educated, you are simply repeating what you were told. When you are learned, you are reacting from experience. And so
Interesting.
I think that right there is a really good basis for a book and a discussion, because I want to be, if I'm learning how to operate an electronic device, a complicated electronic device, then I need to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am learning how to how to manipulate and work through a human scenario, I probably want to be learned,
Mm.
because I don't think there's a set of instructions that just one size fits all
Right.
on more human, things. So I would want to come at something like that from a learned perspective versus an educated perspective.
Well, can
'Cause-
I ask you one final question? What
Absolutely.
What is your main source of optimism, if any?
I honestly, I think it is the under 20 crowd. I
Okay.
think I think the under 20 crowd, at least what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing, and I'm paying attention to it specifically. I'm really glad you asked that, because it's actually fast becoming a huge passion topic for me. I am seeing the kids under 20. I'm seeing a lot. First of all, they don't believe anything. Like we were born into a world of skepticism. I mean, I never once in my 58 years of being alive, I literally came out of the womb into the pop culture meme that politicians and corporations are self-serving and they're not your friend. I mean, we've known that our entire existence.
Yeah.
You take kids now, like they're so far beyond that. Like they don't believe anything. I mean anything. Like I honestly believe, the second coming could happen right in front of them, and they'd be like, that's CGI. They wouldn't believe it. And so I love that skepticism, because you can't when you are skeptical, you are open to becoming learned. You know what I mean? As opposed to being educated. And so I see the under 20 crowd, they're disconnecting, that, they don't, they're not tied to, these fondle slab devices that everybody is, just addicted to. I see it. I see a lot of kids, they don't have phones. They don't want to drive. They, now a lot of this is laziness too, but
They don't want to work either.
Yeah. And I think earlier in life, maybe a lot of us weren't as productive or as responsible as we are later in life. But I do think that I'm super optimistic that by the time the kids right now that are, the preteens and the teens, 10, 15 years from now, they will, I mean, there are already some skeptical mothers right now. So imagine what it's going to be like 10, 15 years from now when those kids are now adults. How are they going to navigate? How are they going to parent? How are they going to school? How are they going to work? How are they going to provide for themselves?
What kind of parents will they become?
Yeah. And I hope that what comes out of that is a whole new level of self-sufficiency, because we're just not taught. I mean, we should be taught from birth how to get water, how to get food, how to build shelter, how to be self-sufficient. Every other living organism does that. I mean, what do you see, a mother bird doing? What do you see a mother cat doing, or a dog, or a mother deer? I mean, they're teaching their young, this is where the water is. This is where the food is. This is how not to die. This is where we sleep. And if we learn to do that, and we see it happening, I think, in mass. I mean, 20 years ago, farmers markets weren't what they are today. Now, I mean, there's some badass farmers markets out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't go, I stopped going to grocery stores, I think in 2016.
Well, there's an entire organic movement, organic food movement. Yeah.
You don't need to go, like you don't need retail. You don't need commercial retail to get what you need. And so I'm seeing, sorry being so long-winded about answering that question, but I think that the under 20 crowd is going to be way more self-sufficient. They're already way more skeptical. And I think it's going to be them that learn a new way of doing things, because clearly the way that we're doing things right now is not it's just not resulting in the best the best outcome.
Well, that is both simultaneously optimistic and scary as hell, in my view. But that's
I mean, a lot of good things should be scary. You know what I mean?
All future should be scary, as you just said.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate you coming on today, John. John is the co-author of The Red Pill Revolution, and I'm happy to hear that there's a sequel coming, or an additional stories in the Red Pill series.
Absolutely.
And we definitely be looking out for that. So
yeah. And if you go to theredpillrevolution.com/guide, I've got a little, this is, there's nothing to sell you. I'm not collecting your data for any other reason. This is purely a knowledge share. Theredpillrevolution.com/guide, anti-dependency guide. It is chock full of just real life bits of information and actionable things that you can see and do yourself to just take back a little bit more of yourself, be a little more in control of. It goes through, I mean, water, light, EMF, electrosmog, grounding, healthcare, sourcing, physical goods versus digital good, media, commercial versus private, and it ends on consent. And there's in each one of those sections, there's, like I said, real actionable things that you can do to own yourself a little more than maybe you did before you downloaded that guide. So it's purely a knowledge share, and I hope that I think everybody that I think has ever downloaded that, even the most skeptical or the most seasoned rabbit hole explorer, there's at least 2 or 3 things in there that go, oh man, I didn't know that. You know,
Cool.
I think the one that gets everybody, and maybe this will make you go download it, but I don't know if you've ever noticed the line that you sign on a check. If you're writing a check out of your personal checkbook, it's not a line. That's not a solid line. It's actually, it's called it's microtype, and it's a little contract.
I can't show it on my camera, but I happen to have one right in front of me. It's what now?
It's a little contract. If you, it would take probably another hour to explain that by writing that check. It's a conflict of interest. But so you couldn't have a line. It's actually a contract, and if you look closely, like I said, it's not a solid line. And a lot of people, you know, I mean, people have written thousands and thousands and thousands of checks in their day, and they've never noticed that what they're actually doing is they're not signing on a line; they're signing a little contract.
Well, you know, as soon as we sign off, I'm going to get my magnifying glass out, look at that checkbook.
Yeah.
But I certainly appreciate you coming on, Mr. Gusty. It was a pleasure. This was it was actually more than an hour, but it was a very fast hour. And I recommend this book to anyone who's interested in what we were talking about tonight. And we've been looking forward to the sequel coming out. So
absolutely,
reach out to me when that's available. We'll have you back on to talk about the sequel.
Fantastic. And just thank you for what you do. And thank you for, you know, I mentioned this earlier in our conversation. Thank you for keeping conversation going. This is important. It's important that we have conversations like this and things and talks like this, to where, you know, I mean, there's so much I can learn from you. And there's so much you can learn from me. And
absolutely.
In a perfect scenario, we both walk away a little more learned.
Which is probably the motivation for many independent podcasters, just to converse and learn. Yeah.
So thanks, man. It's like I said, appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Gusty. And to people watching and listening, I will put in the show notes the link to the guide he just referenced. Thank you again, sir. Have a great evening.
You too. Take care.
Okay.